In a quaint town where every street seemed to hum with life, the Johnson family moved into a seemingly perfect neighborhood. The houses, with their white picket fences and colorful gardens, looked like they were straight out of a postcard. However, as they unpacked, Alice, the youngest daughter, noticed something peculiar. The houses across the street were always dark, their windows like vacant eyes. Despite her parents' reassurances, Alice felt a chill every time she looked at the empty homes. Days turned into weeks, and the family settled in. They met some friendly neighbors, but no one ever mentioned the abandoned houses. Alice's curiosity grew. One day, emboldened by her questions, she decided to investigate. She ventured across the street to the first house. The grass was overgrown, and the porch sagged. As she stepped onto the creaky steps, she heard a faint whispering. The sound was unsettling, like a conversation just out of earshot. Pushing the door open, entered a dusty living room, untouched by time. The air was thick with decay, and a sense of unease washed over her. In the corner, she spotted a photograph on the wall, 4 smiling faces. A mother, father, and 2 children. She recognized them from a newspaper article she'd seen in the local library. The family had vanished without a trace years ago. Suddenly, the whispers grew louder, echoing through the empty house. Panicked, Alice backed away, but the door slammed shut behind her. She rushed to the window, but the glass wouldn't budge. The whispers transformed into frantic voices, pleading for help. Heart racing, Alice pressed her hands against the window, her breath fogging the glass. She could see shadows moving outside, figures lingering just beyond her line of sight. Desperate, she began to scream. The whispers grew silent, replaced by a chilling calm. Finally, the door creaked open. Alice stumbled outside, gasping for air. She looked back, but the house stood silent, as if nothing had happened. That night, Alice couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. She told her parents, but they brushed it off as her imagination. Determined to uncover the truth, Alice returned to the house the next day, this time with a flashlight and a notebook. As she explored deeper, she discovered remnants of the family's life. Children's toys scattered in the corners, a half-finished puzzle on the table, and a diary tucked away in a drawer. The entries were filled with joy, but they quickly turned dark. The last few pages detailed the family's descent into paranoia, hearing whispers in the night, feeling watched, until they finally wrote, "They're coming for us." Chilled to the bone, Alice looked around. The shadows seemed to thicken, and she felt an overwhelming presence. Suddenly, the diary flew from her hands, landing open on the floor. The pages turned rapidly, stopping on a drawing of the family. Only this time, their eyes were hollow, their smiles twisted. Panicked, Alice bolted from the house, the whispers chasing her. She stumbled back home, heart pounding. That night, she couldn't sleep, haunted by the voices. They seemed to seep into her dreams, pulling her into a dark void, filled with the sorrow of the forgotten. Determined to save the lost souls, Alice sought the help of a local historian who had researched the neighborhood's past. He revealed that many families had vanished over the years, their spirits trapped in the houses, unable to move on. The houses feed off fear, he explained. They'll take anyone who investigates too closely. The next day, Alice returned to the house with the historian. Together, they set up a small seance, hoping to communicate with the trapped spirits. As they gathered, the atmosphere thickened, and the whispers grew louder. Alice closed her eyes, reaching out to the voices, begging them to reveal their truth. Suddenly, a cold breeze swept through the room, and the shadows coalesced into a figure, the mother from the photograph. Her eyes were filled with despair. "Help us," she whispered. "We can't escape." Alice felt a surge of determination. "What do you need?" she asked, her voice steady. The ghostly mother pointed toward the diary, and the whispers intensified, echoing through the house. Alice understood. The family needed their story to be told. They had to be remembered. With the historian's help, Alice began to document their lives, sharing the forgotten stories of the vanished families with the town. As she did, the weight of the house seemed to lift. The whispers softened, and one by one, the shadows began to fade. Weeks later, Alice stood outside the house one last time. The air felt lighter, and the darkness that had clung to the neighborhood began to dissipate. The windows sparkled in the sunlight, no longer vacant,